My name's Brandon, and I'm going to review Conjuring 2 today. It is a sequel to The Conjuring, of course, and is, again, a very good movie. The first Conjuring is one of my favorite horror movies, especially in the past couple years. And The Conjuring 2, I think I still have to watch it a third or fourth time, but I think it's also going to be one of my favorites. So The Conjuring 2 is, again, the setup is very similar to The Conjuring, and in general, all haunting movies. You have family, events start happening, and then the parent finally realizes, okay, this is really happening, and then they go to Ed and Lorraine Warren for help. Now, like the first movie, with which starts out with Annabelle, the cursed doll. This movie starts out with another, perhaps more famous haunting that the Warrens worked on, that is the Amityville Horror. And it serves as a great way to introduce the audience to the Warrens. And also for this movie, it sets up The Nun, which I heard they're considering making another movie, but I wouldn't be too confident in the quality because of how bad the Annabelle movie was. But the actual haunting for this movie is set in London, and it's an interesting setting for haunting because especially with American-made movies, you don't normally see many UK based hauntings, especially in the 70s. And this is set up very well. And you have this a family of four, and one night the youngest daughter begins sleepwalking, and she begins talking in this odd voice. Now, I assume that is the ghost of an elderly man that died in the chair that they for some reason still have in the living room. And things start to escalate, and it gets worse and worse. And they bring in other experts to investigate. Well, that's one thing I really liked about this movie. Because so many times in horror movies, like, no one believes them, and then they're also then people that don't believe them, but then something happens, and they're like, "Oh, I see what you're getting at here. There is something going on." And it was very interesting how it did it. It's almost kind of funny, some of the scenes with that. It should be it's still scary and creepy, but it was funny how the people reacted. And I also really liked throughout the whole movie. There's a sense of skepticism. If I was around someone that's saying the house is haunted, I would be a skeptic. But in the movie, the audience sees everything that's going on. And everything that's going on, there's some scary shit going on. So that the audience knows that the haunting is real. But still the people around, the skeptics, they have what they see and things that happen make sense. That you could explain away almost everything in the movie if you want to be a skeptic about it. And I really enjoyed that angle of it. And also, for a movie like this, I go into it, I almost view it as a separate universe where all these things are real. But I really enjoyed that. A skeptic could watch it, and we think that, oh, okay, so that's where they faked it. That's where it was all just set up. And they kind of address that. So this movie is really, I loved it. It's probably the best movie I've seen, the best horror movie I've seen at the theater, probably since the first Conjuring. I've seen some other good horror films at the theater, but so many times the ones that get wide release are very poorly made, or just kind of made on a budget, and I know that they just aren't very good. I mean, I don't know how they get made or how they get such a wide release, but this movie, the director is a master of the horror genre. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I saw it twice already, and one thing, like, it really held up to the second viewing. Like, of course, some of the stuff that's going to happen, but it was still scary and still creepy and still really good. The other thing, like, in the first Conjuring film, I've seen that, like, multiple times, and I actually saw it again before The Conjuring 2 came out. And the one thing that doesn't hold up are the interactions with the kids. It's the child actors, and some of the lines are just kind of goofy. And there's a possibility that it could be similar in Conjuring 2. But it's not, like, from the first viewing, it's not as bad as some of the lines and some of the child acting in the first one. Even the first Conjuring, I mean, the child actors aren't bad, but it's just, the lines that they have and how they read them. But, yeah, I really enjoyed the movie, and, the only thing that I would say that it is a little long. It's like, I think it's over 2 hours. And I mean, that's long for a horror movie. And, I try to think of what they could cut out of the movie. And, the biggest thing that they cut out, the part that really slows the movie down, are all the stuff with Ed and Lorraine Warren. And, their interaction and their love story. But, I really enjoyed those scenes, so I wouldn't want to cut out. But I could see why people, like, may think the pacing is kind of off. But, I really think this movie is almost a love letter by the director for the Warrens. Like, they kind of respect, what they do and who they are so well. And they bring it to life amazingly. And, I would recommend any horror fan to go out and see this movie in the theaters. There's no better way to see a horror film than to go in a big screen and, completely dark. And it's just amazing. Like, and that's the one thing in this horror film, the scares, there are jump scares, but there are no fake jump scares. If there's a jump scare, there is some scary shit coming at you. And, and so many times with other horror films, they have the jump scare setup. You can kind of tell when it's going to happen. And, I always try to get prepared. I focus on a part of the screen where I think it's safe, but I keep, so I can look at a whole screen still, but not be so startled when something jumps out. But this movie got me a couple times. Like, I was kind of looking like I was expecting something, and then something happened, and it was creepy, and then bam, something else happened. And, it gave me, the chills, freaked me out a bit. And that is really well done. And also, like, they're really good. I mean, they're creepy things, too. It's not all scary. There's some, like, really creepy shit that you see and like, it lingers. Like, it's not just a really quick scare. It kind of lingers. The other thing, I mean, there's a one CGI character that's, that provides it. If he doesn't appear that long. And I think he was really freaky. But I could see he's a little goofy. And, some people say that they don't like it when you see too much of the scary thing. But, I thought it was very well done. I mean, a lot of it is kind of hidden, but then you do see more, and it's not as scary, but it's freaky. And, like, I love how, like, they had, like, a practical effect, and then they added CG onto it. And the CG, I thought, was very well done. So, overall, you gotta go see this movie. I mean, I understand if you can't take scary movies, like, I know this movie isn't probably for you, but, like, even, like, if it's a good movie, just even without the scares, it'd be a good movie. And it's, I think I give it a 10 out of 10. Like, maybe a 9.75 out of 10, but, I have to see it, like, one more time to determine if it's, like, to give it a perfect score. But at this point, I would give it a 10 out of 10. And I think everyone should go out and see it while it's at theaters. Support this kind of movie. Because not support, all the shit horror movies that come out. Like the Darkness, that came out a little bit ago, and the Ouija 2 was just coming out on Halloween. It's like, I mean, you know, that's the problem is though, I know I love seeing horror films at the big screen, but I don't want to, you know, support bad films. So I just, you know, I didn't see The Darkness because I heard so many bad reviews. So, you know, go see The Conjuring 2, and, you know, don't go see some of the other horror films, and, you know, maybe they'll realize that people like a good horror film. You know, they don't just like scares. So, thanks for watching. This is my first review. I'm not sure how it turned out, but if you're watching, let me know, and maybe I'll do another review. You know, I have a couple things I could do, but I was thinking about doing like my 10 favorite indie horror films from the past couple years that you should see. You know, I have a couple of horror films that I absolutely love, and, you know, didn't even get a wide release at all. Like some like just went on Netflix. Like two of my favorite horror films from the past couple years are just on Netflix. Like they've never had any kind of release, and, you know, so maybe I might do a video on that, or I might do a video on another movie come out. I'm go to movies like at least once a week, so I could do other reviews if. So let me know what you think. Okay, thanks and bye.